One race down, one race left to go, and it is 17th or higher that gets the job here today. It seems like such an easy challenge when you put it into perspective. Don't finish, but this is sim racing, where anything is possible, where anything can happen, and we've got a lot. Kieran McGinley here with the second of the double header, and now at Mount Panorama was crazy. This is all about hold on to your hats. Race 2 coming up.
Oh, in towards the final round. There are 3 drivers in with him, but as you said, for Castorino, all he needs is P17. Once again, we go just as we did in qualifying. Luke Whitehead will lead the field towards Hell Corner, and it will be Apostle in second place. Now, Sebastian Apostle got the move done at Quarry Bend in the last race. Luke Whitehead might have wised up to that one. We'll see if he's learned any lessons from this race start last time around. And Amadeo Castorino, meanwhile, will be hoping for a much more, well, fruitful luck in this race. He was caught up when a little bit of traffic got it all wrong. It was Mikalev who got it wrong in the middle section of the track, and there was absolutely nowhere for him to go. He had to take home a wounded car to the line, but to be fair, he's still got a good haul of points nonetheless. He'll be hoping for a much cleaner race this time around, and he'll be hoping he'll be able to wrap up this championship in a neat little bow. The only thing that stops him, Luke Whitehead, Sebastian Apostle, they start ahead of him.
We do apologise here, ladies and gentlemen, for any issues here for those who are keeping an eye out on what we've got going on. We are looking into the issue and trying to see whether we can fix that one out there overall. So it's all now down to these 30 minutes. Is anybody going to find a chance to get through? Is anyone going to try and find those magic positions? For Castorino, is he going to keep it out of trouble? Because he knows he only needs 2 cars in the back to get into trouble, and the championship is all his out there, provided that he does finish the race. And I do expect that he'll go and try and finish that outright. And once again here, Kieran, we have those and we are racing here as we go through across the beams, through the opening section of road, as Amadeo Castorino has to open up, but through goes, I believe, having an amazing start there going through would have been one of the BMWs there. Couldn't quite work that out. Might have been Alexander who got a really good run, making progress forward there, or maybe even Joshua Allen jumping up then into third. They run in through the quarry corner for the first time, and it is calm throughout the majority of the field.
It is, and for Luke Whitehead, it's a much better start this time around, and he's managed to try and pull a gap as well to the army of BMWs behind him. Joshua Allen in 6th place at the moment as he makes his way up the hill. Oh, there is a little bit of carnage coming out of the cutting then, and drivers managing to get their way back underway again. The Sebastian Apostle in 2nd place as he looks to try and chase down Luke Whitehead once again. And for this first lap then, looks like Luke Whitehead trying to extend the gap. We've got a car off into the gravel just in the bottom of your picture there. Didn't quite see who that was, but they'll have rejoined the circuit. Luke Whitehead descending down the hill then as he makes his way on towards Forest's Elbow. And Apostle here will try and make use of that Honda-sized hole being punched through the air.
Yeah, that sound then's going to be needed then. That very important run to try and break away in the early goings. There is Joshua Allen back in 6th position, so it looks like Jack Alexander made his way through then on the opening lap. You've got everybody trying to make a bit of progress then in the early stages. They run at the chase then for the first time. There is Amadeo Castorino, who is out there in 4th position. Championship wrapped up if it stays like this. Dylan De Bono was the Mercedes in trouble over the opening laps, but it looks like everyone running through. Then at the final corner, Castorino with eyes on Alexander, doesn't have to make the move, doesn't have to gain the place, but looking over towards the inside, and no chance then to get that sorted. He'll have to stay patient then on the run up the mountain straight.
Yeah, he will. He knows he doesn't need this position, but try telling a racing driver, you don't have to go for that move. It almost never works out the way you think it will. Here comes Castorino then in the slipstream of Alexander. He looks to the inside then, maybe just perhaps filling the mirrors of Alexander then, but no way through for him right now as they now climb the hill up towards the cutting.
Yeah, towards the cutting, the double apex lefts then of turns 3 and 4, just behind that. Alan and Nikolai in a really, really good race then. They try and stay in range, the 2 drivers in front, flicking through. There is 1 car in the pits, that's Dylan De Bono, so that's one of the 2 lives then for Luke Whitehead, who leads this race. Gone. He will have to rely on the next car being a retiree for Amadeo Castorino, or if he drops way back down the order, if he wants the championship to be secured. It's the only way left now over the course of racing that he's got. But now dipping down the hill, Allen still trying to work out where 5th place can be won, and there's troubles for Abeja, who clips the wall trying to get around, and that is a very heftily damaged front as he tries to work away past the Porsche of Brandon Mikulev. No chances there. Castorino, they all start finding out. It's nice and stable in these early stages. No one's really broken massively away then here from the front of the field.
Yeah, kind of how I expected the first race to sort of unfold before the absolute crashes happened. But yeah, a much cleaner getaway from those in the top half of the field. Luke Whitehead leading the way as we head our way now down in towards the final corner and onwards towards the start-finish line. End of the 2nd lap of this race. Luke Whitehead leads by 1.2 seconds.
1.2 seconds worth of margin. That's enough to say that he's broken away. That's Dylan De Bono, who's just come out of the pits then a lap down, so he will be in front of the entirety of the field. So 2 laps then, the difference that he will have to make up in a moment when Luke Whitehead decides that he wants to get the lapping process started. But flicking through the quarry corner, trying to get as much drive, is always worrying when you see just how much curb those drivers take on the outside. They really want to maximise the road, and there really isn't anywhere to extend the track out because it is public road. It is basically, there is barrier and you must deal with it.
Yeah, that is your track limit as well for most of the circuit. It's just a barrier, a solid barrier, that's it. But Luke Whitehead managing to negotiate those barriers to perfection. 1.5 seconds so far between himself and Apostle. There's Castorino flying his way through McPhillamy Park, and now at the skyline before you have that gut-wrenching descent down in towards the S's and then in towards the dip. Oh, a spinner in the background. Nikolai's around.
Yeah, so that then, trouble for Victor Nicolai. He goes around up the top and he has taken it back to the pits. So that then, with Kirsten Abeja also in the pits, pretty much all but secures it right now. Just keep it on the island, Amadeo, and he's got himself exactly what he wants. So Luke Whitehead here, who we've got classified right now as your race leader, he will still be there leading the race, but he'll be looking all around thinking, well, what on earth is going on here in this one? So Nicolai will drop down the order naturally as he's gone back to the pits. Whew! That there would have been very scary, because that is the fastest section, the first real big test of the brakes out there when you're up at the top of the hill. It's the easiest place to get it wrong.
Yeah, I think as well. I think high praise has to go to Victor there, because at the moment he lost it, he just brought that, pressed escape as quickly as he could to bring that back to the garage, and that's pretty much the best way to get the car out of the way and make sure there isn't any carnage behind you. So he had that quick thinking mindset to say, you know what, I've lost it, just get me out of here, get me off the track.
Yeah, absolutely, and every lap will be a tick down to say, hey, I managed to secure it. There is Ciprian Dascalescu racing going on then in 12th position. You've got John Agius just in front, Gergely Conchabo in 10th position. So those drivers now starting to really get things going. Gergely's going to have to really defend, one of the veterans of World Pro Racing, you could say. It often crops up in anything that World Pro Racing puts up, but Gergely Conchabo is very much in I want to run away mode and try and catch up to Brandon Bonello just in front.
Absolutely, we do love, it's not really a World Pro Racing race without Gergely Conchabo, as you said, a real veteran and a real driver's driver heading in towards the top end of the track in the Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes. Easy for me to say as he makes his way through McPhillamy Park.
Yeah, so the Mad Panda is definitely flying over the top of the hill. Back now on the brakes, 22 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. So about a quarter of the race then has already been put into the books. And now it's about just staying calm in these stages. You know that in the early goings of a race, Kieran, it's about putting your foot down. And if you know you're at the front of a train like this, around a track like this, you also know it's not necessarily the widest, and so running the middle of the road sometimes is the biggest point of defence you could possibly have.
Yeah, absolutely, and running the middle of the road doesn't compromise too much your racing line going in towards the next corner. It's obviously not the best line, but it's not like you're trying to have the tightest angle possible to make it so that you're defending the inside line. There are ways to defend here without compromising your own lap times too much, and there's a great battle going on behind between Apostle and Alexander, and I think at this point Amadeo Castorino is just grabbing the popcorn, because here comes Jack Alexander on the left hand side of your screen now as they head underneath the sign and onwards towards Quarry Bend. Apostle's got the inside line, Alexander's got the outside line, and Apostle sees the position, so Jack Alexander moves up into second place.
Proof that no lights works better than lights out there. The lights fully on beams for Sebastian Apostol. Can't do anything about Jack Alexander, who was clearly saving electrical energy or something by not having the lights on, and as such made the move. Good move. It's just as simple as that. It's the textbook move at Mount Panorama. You try and wait for one of the two straights to go and make the pass, and the mountain straight proved to be the place for him.
Absolutely, and if you get the rest of the lap all sort of linked up and get that absolutely perfect lap time, then yes, you close in for that lap and you wait until the mountain straight to get the job done. Now Sebastian Apostol here, obviously race 1 winner, is now going to have himself a little bit of pressure from Amadeo Castorino behind. He'll want to keep the pressure on Jack Alexander though, because Alexander finishes 3rd in the last race. He is wanting to pretty much improve on that position from about 45 minutes ago, so he's going the right way about it too.
He is going about it the right way. If you want to try and make some progress in this race, you're going to have to absolutely fly forward for it. So for Sebastian Apostol, he has got to try and stay back in rhythm. He knows that he can't do anything about Luke Whitehead right now, but what he has done is he's built a gap over Wojtek Neuwirth, and if he can't get second in the championship, he may as well try and secure 3rd, and he will have that if he can keep in this position. He'll have that in the back of the mind as just behind him is one driver, being Amedeo Castorino. So he's still got that to be alert to at this point in time, that he can't just afford to give up places here and there. He's still out there racing. It's still a podium if he can get himself sorted, and it is still, as he looks behind to Amedeo Castorino, a race which he can't afford to be in the wrong position in.
Yeah, I think as well for for Castorino, I should say, you know, he knows at this point he doesn't have to get involved. He could just sit there with the popcorn and watch on that great battle between Alexander and Apostle. But as a racing driver, do you really feel like you want to be in a position, even with the championship on the line, even though you know at this point it is all but confirmed they're starting to write the name on the trophy, you still want to be involved in the action, you still want to go racing, that's the whole point you're here. But I understand though, Castorino has got the mindset here, he doesn't need those positions, he's happy to just sit back, be in the slipstream and let the others squabble first.
Yeah, and he knows as well that there is still 18 3/4 minutes that can make the difference here in this one, as Luke Whitehead here, your race leader, makes some good progress down the hill. Apostol still in second, and he'll be, Apostol now up into second, so Alexander then has lost the place outright. So there's been a change up the hill, where Jack Alexander has dropped the place overall, and now Sebastian Apostol finds himself in second position. So just like that, click your fingers, they've changed places.
And here comes Castorino then looking at the inside, going through the right-hander. He's lost it! He's hit Jack Alexander too! In the same place he lost it in qualifying, he loses it again on the inside. And how on earth he got away with just a position or two lost? Jack Alexander rejoins the track in third place, but Castorino might have rejoined in fifth. That might be the wake-up call that Castorino needed to say, look, take it easy. There's still a championship on the line here.
Oh, there still is, and that could have been everything. That could have been absolutely everything right there. If that was into the barriers in any way, shape or form, Amedeo Castorino here, Kieran, has just had the biggest wake-up call of his season.
Absolutely. No alarm clocks needed there for Amedeo Castorino. He knows he has to refocus and still get this car to the line. Luke Whitehead, though, sailing off into the distance as he climbs in towards the cutting at nearly 5 seconds between himself and Apostol as he makes his way. In fact, it's now over 5 seconds. But look at that, so close to the wall. That is a driver who is so confident. That is a driver who is now in tune with the circuit as Edwin Law and Daskalescu go side by side in towards the quarry bend. And Daskalescu there managing to hold firm in P11.
Yeah, Daskalescu holding on to place then. Edwin Law knows, the Hong Kong driver, that it was a very tough opening race and would definitely like this race now to be a lot easier. His race with Ciprian Daskalescu is going to be about chasing up this mountain, going through here at the metal grate. Car 1 and Car 2 of Alexander will have a 5-second time penalty for an avoidable incident. Bang! Big hit, Daskalescu hard into the barriers. Edwin Law got away with it.
Yeah, he managed to put the anchors on at the perfect time as well to minimise the damage there. But he's managed to get himself going again. And we've also had the 19 in trouble as well, coming in towards, that's just past Griffin's Mount there, managing to get themselves back underway. But yeah, that is a 5-second penalty applied to Alexander for that instance through the right-hander. So maybe more to that than the camera angle we had suggested.
I think that would be a bit tough on him from what we saw. It didn't look like he wasn't giving the room. It just looked like the car snapped and there it went. But the stewards have more camera angles than we do, so who are we to judge at this point? Luke Whitehead now out to a 5.5-second lead over Sebastian Apostol in second position in this race right now, and a race which, for all the matter of metrics at the front, is pretty much written off at this point for the top three, who are as clear can be. But it's not going to be enough for the championship. Let's take a look then at the replay. So this is where we get a look at what Amedeo Castorino wants. Moves to the inside. Now the question is that enough move? And you'd say that he's come over trying to pinch, but you'd also say at exactly the same time that, you know, you're at the fastest point, they're too wide, And that is the sim racing equivalent incident. I don't think if that happened in the real world, they got that close, that sort of incident would happen.
Yeah, it is a tough one though. You know, that side-by-side contact, you know, unsettles these cars in these conditions anyway. And, you know, it does get exacerbated. You might have got away with that in motorsport with a couple of dented doors, but, you know, it is what it is. And Jack Alexander has been awarded the 5-second penalty from the stewards. In fact, Castorino again has to deal with a wounded car for the second race in a row because he's losing a bit of time to Jack Alexander. This is Kirsten Abea. So I did say the number 19 was in trouble somewhere out there on circuit. I'm assuming we're going to see what happened to Abea. Ah, yeah, he's understeered into the wall there, and that's sent the car spinning around, and an already wounded car getting a few more scars and scratches to the front end.
Yeah, so Luke Whitehead out there at the moment in front, and doing so with a very, very healthy margin. But there have been a few dings and scrapes out there on circuit, and there have been a few positions to keep an eye out on. We haven't really paid too much attention for the race down at the bottom. We know that Daniel Stramer had a really good race one, which has put him in great stead then for that 7th place and the final points that are there. Gurgly Conchabo is effectively going to be in 9th position crossing the line. Yeah, so Brandon Bonello then looks like he's dropped a position. He's now back into 10th place. So Gurgly Conchabo, at least at this point, in comparison to what has been a horrible day for Dylan De Bono, and Brandon Bonello to that point as well, should be the driver who finishes off this championship when it is all said and done here, Kieran, in 6th position.
Yes, absolutely. Conchabo currently 6th place provisionally in the standings. It would still be Daniel Stramer who rounds off the top 7 if it were to finish like this. For Bernard Bonello, he needs a couple more positions than when he is, and in fact, Bernard Bonello in 10th place at the moment, so he needs to grab himself a couple of positions. Meanwhile, battle for 3rd place between Alan and Alexander as we make our way down in towards the Dipper. 2 BMWs fighting it out for the final spot on the podium. Yes, Jack Alexander has that 5-second penalty. His job is to try and get past Joshua Allen for 3rd.
Yeah, so if you can manage that, can get through onto that 3rd position, he's still got to find an extra 5 seconds, which is going to be the really difficult part of this race. It's easy enough when you're out there and you're trying to find the place that, okay, you can make the pass. But then to make the pass and say in the last 12 minutes of this race, you can make that run through, that's going to be massive. But at least at this point, as we take a little look here from Murray's corner, that's the margin between 1st and 2nd, and then there is 3rd and 4th. But look at those clouds that are brewing up there. We might not have this race all over and done with just yet. There might be a final sting in the tail as the cloud cover comes over.
Yeah, cloud cover comes over, which can only mean one thing, that the track temperature decreases. Car 90, meanwhile, will be grabbing a 5-second penalty for the avoidable incidents. That's going to be Gurgly Conchabo, who grabbed himself a 5-second penalty. The gap between himself and Bonello is 5.5. He'll be hoping, the Hungarian, that it stays that way.
Yeah, he certainly will. And when it comes to the way that he wants to get this sorted, this is going to be an important run. This is going to be an important phase. And if you can open it all up, you can get that place, it's going to be massive, Kieran.
It is, and this is where the prize money, it all comes down to trying to finish in that top 7 to have your hand in that €1,000 prize pool. This is what we're all in the top 7 for, as Jack Alexander gets up close and personal with the wall, not once but twice, and that's going to cost him a lot of momentum as well. He's going to lose a lot of time to Josh Allen up ahead of him as he makes his way now descending in towards the skyline. Oh, he's got it all out of shape. It's not often you see a car out of shape, but Skyline recover as they head away in towards the Dipper, but Jack Alexander might have used one of his 9 lives there.
He abandoned ship at exactly the right point, and it could have so easily have been so much more difficult. So you could argue at that point in time that he had his rhythm completely out of shape there, Kieran, and because that rhythm had completely gone, it meant that everybody else then effectively had to jump and say, oh, hang on a minute, that's going to be a little bit more troublesome between now and the end of this race. You know that when you're out of rhythm at Mount Panorama, it takes a couple moments for it to come back, and you just don't get that time.
No, you don't, especially when you're in that mid part of the section. You know, you're heading your way through the likes of Reed Park, Solman Park, then in towards McPhillamy Park. Then you're met with the Skyline and the S's and the Dipper, and then the Forest's Elbow. I mean, that's a huge chunk of corners, a huge chunk of highly demanding corners, not only for the machine, but for the driver themselves to negotiate their way through. You're right, there is not a lot of respite when you head in towards the summit here.
No, there's not a lot of respite, and it's about being careful in the circumstances. There is Sebastian Apostol in second position, just doing what is needed to at this point in time, which is just holding station, knows there's no car in front, no car behind here, Kieran, and he's just flying about doing what he needs to. Now, Gurgly Conchavo here has a 5-second time penalty. That's big, but he's got the gap already to Brandon Bonello, so it seems like he is remaining in 9th place.
Yeah, at the moment, of course, with less than 9 minutes to go, there is Sebastian Apostol, meanwhile, second place. He won the first race, of course. 7.7 seconds between himself and Luke Whitehead. There is your race leader, trying to put everything together with all the odds stacked against him as it stands. But he makes his way in towards the Forest's Elbow, pushing on as if, you know, the race win is the only way he's going to do it. And in this sense, it really is. You know, a lot can happen between now and then, but the only thing he can do, Luke Whitehead, is win this race. He's doing just that right now. He's on the path and only 8 minutes away from that checkered flag. Sebastian Apostol, of course, second place. Then we have Josh Allen in third, Jack Alexander in fourth place, but with that 5-second penalty. Interesting to see what the gap is between himself and Castorino. It's 2.6 seconds. Now, that was above 3 seconds before, of course, Jack Alexander had that little bit of a moment. Luke Whitehead himself gets a little bit of a moment, heading onto the grass, maybe one for the cameras, as he makes his way now down in towards Hell Corner. Always a great name to go there. You heads first into Hell Corner. It's always annoying when you have to say corner after it as well. Then you've got Neuwirth in 6th place. Oscar Saristo in 7th, Daniel Strumer in 8th place, with Gurgly Conchavo in 9th, even with that 5-second penalty, and Bernard Bonello rounding off our top 10. There is the Hungarian in the Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes, up and practicing in towards the final corner and onwards towards the start-finish line. For Jack Alexander, meanwhile, he will drop to 6th place as it stands with that 5-second penalty, so he's got to be building the gap to the cars behind. There's Josh Allen then in the West Competition Racing BMW, the Scotsman making his way now in towards the cutting and then back onto the power through Griffin's Mount. The gap between the leaders, meanwhile, 7.7 seconds as we have less than 7 minutes on the clock. Luke Whitehead in the groove. Looks like he's on rails for now, and trying to end off the season with a win at Mount Panorama. Apostol in 2nd place, and really one to watch these World Pro Racing events. And of course, if you are new here, make sure you're following us on all the social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and of course don't forget we're live here on Facebook, we're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube as well. Of course, we're on ESTV. A warm welcome to you all. And if you're just tuning in, well, a championship decider with only 6 minutes on the clock, and of course the top 7 yet to be decided as we head in towards these closing stages. Top 7 important because that's the all-important prize pool.
It is that all-important prize pool, Kieran, and you know, we're looking now and talking about, well, where are the prizes going to go and what is the complete breakdown of those prizes, and I think that often gets missed around this point in time. It's €300 of course, for victory overall. Second position is 250, third position 200, as Asuka Shikanami goes around in the Ferrari in 12th position at a very awkward point on the circuit there, right over at Skyline, and that will be a retirement then, or taken back to the pits. Daskalescu also in the pits right now, but you've also got €100 for 4th, €75 for 5th, €50 for 6th, and €25 for 7th position. So for those drivers here, they know and understand that there is a monetary value attached to each position.
Absolutely, and as you head in towards the final round, you have a chance of finishing in that prize pool top 7. then everything starts to be a little bit heightened. You feel as if, you know, there is that slight bit of pressure, especially if you're just trying to get into that top 7 championship finishing position. You really want to make sure that you do it. As you said, Shikanami in the pits. Daskalescu has been in the pits for some time after that big incident he had. But Luke Whitehead, I was just saying, he has been on rails in this race, and apart from a couple of kisses with the grass, that car has been on rails. He has been on rails. He's really been in the groove and in the movement with them.
Yeah, he has, and he will also know just what he's got to do. Now, Wojtek Neuwirth here is back, as far as we can tell, in 7th position, because that's Oscar Saristo, who has just gone through. So Neuwirth here, starting to drop back a little bit then in the final stages. Behind him, that's one of the lapped down Mercedes out there, so probably Dylan Bono's Mercedes that he's gone through. But for Wojtek Neuwirth, he's just trying to find a finish right now. He is buying a ticket to the end.
Is indeed, and not long until the end as well. Less than 4 minutes to go as that in-sim timer ticks to 20 to 8 in the evening. Still lots of cloud in the sky. Wind has picked up as well, about 11 kilometres blowing in the now it's in the north-northeast. So we head our way on towards the mountain straight and up towards Quarry Bend. 8.5 seconds Luke Whitehead has built the gap between himself and Sebastian Apostel. Josh Allen in 3rd place with Jack Alexander in 4th. Still with that 5-second penalty. He will cede the position to Castorino, but for Oscar Saristo, there must have been an issue for Neuwirth, because Saristo, through he went, and the gap between himself and Castorino now 9.2 seconds.
Yeah, it's massive. Well, actually, no, I'd say it's gap between Castorino and Saristo, 9 points. Yeah. It's a big gap, so it would have been a big issue out there. I wasn't quite sure what the gap was before they went there, but for Wojtek Neuwirth now, he knows either you want to get back and race with Saristo and the Mercedes-Benz, or, and this is the other or out there, he just consolidates position because he's got about 5 seconds to Daniel Stramer behind. So he's still got time on his side, and the last couple of laps, you know, sometimes they are the easiest ones to run into trouble on because you're not thinking, you're not paying attention. It's been a tough season over the course of 6 racing weeks, over the course of effectively 11 actual weeks out there. This puts a lot of time and it's consumed a lot of time for all of these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Wojciech, he's had a decent season as well. Even with the points he has now, he's provisional to finish 4th in the championship, and that's €100. That's nothing to sniff at in terms of a prize pool, and would be a great reward for what has been a pretty good season for Wojciech.
It's been a very consistent season out there, and I think that it's been really, really telling in terms of the way that he's gone about it, that he has just put in the right results at the right time, which have always had him in and around the top 5 as things have gone. The final lap then of the season will start for Luke Whitehead, and it will be somewhat here, Kieran, of a bittersweet final lap. He has done everything he's needed to do in this final race. He had to win it to give himself any chance then of title aspirations. He got himself out in front. He's got over a 10-second advantage at the front of this field, but the cars just haven't fallen on the table his way, and he needed a pretty stacked deck to make that work.
He did, but you know what? He turned up tonight. He knew he had to get full points to give himself a chance, and a 2nd place in the last race and leading this one from pole position is about the best he could have hoped for as he heads his way up the hill. He'll be kicking himself. He didn't get 2 wins out of 2, but considering the race start he had last time out and the amount of battling he had to do in race 1, and he had a little bit of scratches and bruises on that Honda, it doesn't look like there's a scratch on that Honda as he makes his way and winds down what has been a still great season for Luke Whitehead.
This is the sort of performance that Luke Whitehead knows he is very capable of doing and has done with World Pro Racing time and time again. He will have other chances to pick up championships, and not just here with World Pro Racing, but all over Assetto Corsa Competizione in terms of his efforts. But there is no shame in the work that he's done. He's just come up against someone who has been very consistent all season long, and when it was needed the most, it hasn't played out in his favour. He will come through the fastest corner in Australian sim racing to head to the chase, and the final time this season he will take the fabled left and right. With just Murray's corner to go, he will take a big, big victory. One which he can be very proud of in terms of the way he's driven away from the rest of the field. Luke Whitehead will win the battle here and take the victory here and secure second position in the championship. But we will look back to about 5th place, where car number 1 is going to be your champion. Sebastian Apostol will get 3rd in the championship with the 2nd place finish. Alan and Alexander will be next, but crucially, it will be Amedeo Castorino who will round the final corner, leapfrog Jack Alexander overall in result, and take the title with his 5th place finish turning into a 4th, and one that is thoroughly well deserved by the way he's driven this season, Kieran.
Yeah, absolutely. Thoroughly deserved for Amedeo Castorino, our champion here of the Sprint Series, and a few donuts to boot. He is the champion, and as you said, Jay, thoroughly deserved from the Italian. He wins out today. The difference between the two of Luke Whitehead and Amedeo Castorino, 22 points. It was still a great season all around. With Apostol finishing in 2nd place, you're absolutely right. He secures 3rd place in the championship. Wojciech Neuwirth will round off 4th in the championship. Oscar Saristo 5th in championship, with Gurley Consabo 6th in the championship, and Daniel Stromae rounding off the top 7 prize pool winning positions. So congratulations to all who have earned their rightful share of that €1,000 prize pool. But Amedeo Castorino is our champion, and a huge congratulations to him.
Yeah, and thoroughly deserved as well in terms of the way that he constructed that season. There was a time where Amedeo Castorino, he wasn't necessarily winning all of the races, Kieran, but what he was doing was he was putting himself in the right place to succeed, with not just victories but 2nd places and 3rd places. That every time he wasn't the quickest driver on pace, he mitigated damage. Every time that he was the quickest driver on pace, he made sure everyone else paid for it.
Absolutely, and that's one of the main things as well. Not only can you score those high consistent points, but also if you have a slightly off race, you're still scoring a decent amount of points. And then of course your consistency shines through when your rivals have not so great races. That is where Amedeo Castorino shone through. Yes, he had the wins as well, but he had some pace to match it. And with the consistency he had too, well, it was always going to be a tough cookie to crack for Castorino. But he's done the championship. He's won it in style as well.
He certainly has, and I'm sure we'll get an opportunity in just a few moments to start talking to some of these drivers then in terms of how everyone brings it together. But in terms of a season, Kieran, that went from beginning to end, there's been a wealth of opportunities for these drivers, and over the course of a series of 30-minute sprint races, it's not just been about the top drivers at the top, it's been as well about those drivers who have been a little bit further down the field, haven't had as much pace, and their opportunity to develop in sim racing. How crucial is it that leagues like these exist and give an opportunity not just for drivers to go out there and race, but an opportunity for drivers to go out there and develop their skills?
Yeah, it's critical. I mean, environments like these are fantastic to springboard drivers, not only in that competitive scene, but it gives them that experience that they can take forward in future races and hopefully on that path to a motorsport track. It's a fantastic journey if you can make that leap. And these sorts of races, these sorts of championships here at World Pro Racing can really help a driver springboard into that position. But as much as it is fun to drive, it's so much fun to watch on, popcorn in hand and shouting over all the racings. Brilliant fun.
Brilliant fun, and it's brilliant fun with World Pro Racing. There will be more events coming up in the new year, so make sure that you head over to WPR.gg to keep your eye out on any more events that will be coming up, depending on platform, whatever platform of sim racing you go out there and race. And on top of that, doesn't matter what entry level that you are in, if you're a veteran in sim racing, you're looking for a new place to have a creative challenge, how fast, how slow you are, or if you're brand new and a beginner looking to get in on it, World Pro Racing is the place for that. We've been here, of course, thanks to ESTV, the Esports Television Network. We've been powered by them, along with TVM Sport, as well as on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch as well. We're just waiting for clarification on the points overall, and we will then be able to bring you official confirmation of how everyone stacks up together through the course of this season to make sure that we've got the top 7 in the right order here, Kieran, because of course it was very, very diverse down in the late stages of the racing that was there, especially for the top 7, with the almighty charge that Daniel Stromae had late to score some big points.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, when I read them out, they're all provisional. It's only when the people in charge say these are your top 7 that's when we know that is who the top 7 is. But hopefully won't be too long. It's just be a review of the points and making sure everything's in order before we clarify and confirm our top 7. But those drivers that have finished in the top 7 have all deserved it as well. We've had it was quite a hectic first race tonight, cleaned it up in the second race, and it showed as well. There were some great moves on track and bit of action, bit of drama, just enough to just keep our appetite just in the mood there.
Yeah, it certainly did. And you're talking about drivers who are there and have been looking around those points, and often you find that when it comes to sim racing, getting a strong championship result, just finding finishes gets you well up inside a championship. And we see it time and time again, series upon series. Just look down the list and you go, hang on, that can't be right. This driver can't be in this position. You go, oh, well, they've kept finding finishes, and drivers around them have had maybe 2 or 3 great results and then 2 or 3 retirements. You often find that in a series when it comes to sim racing, but consistency does pay off.
Oh, big time. And one of the first things that you're taught is that the race isn't over until it's over. There's still a chance to score points no matter what. And unless the car's absolutely battered and bruised that you can't drive it anymore, there's still a chance. And keeping yourself in those races, keeping yourself in those scenarios, even if you're 2 or 3 laps down, you just never know. And that's the great thing as well with the Sprint Series. It was short, sharp races to keep everyone on their toes. And whilst the Sprint Series does encourage, some lunges towards the end of the race, especially, I don't think we saw too much of that. So a fair play to the drivers as well. And around Mount Panorama as well, as a season finale, yes, I love the track, but it is just, they're so narrow as well that it does punish the slightest error, the slightest mistake. And well, it did show in that first race how drivers were just getting it just slightly wrong and having the wall as their only mercy. And that's not a lot of mercy it can give.
Mount Panorama is that sort of circuit, though, here that does bring drivers into issues here and there. We are going to get a chance, though, start talking with drivers. And Kieran, you've found yourself down the virtual paddock, and you've found yourself with Sebastian Apostol.
I have indeed. Sebastian Apostol, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Sebastian, well, congratulations on your races today. I mean, Mount Panorama as a season finale with the walls that close. I mean, you look like you found the rhythm out there.
Yeah, surely. I think the car setup was really hooked. It was a pleasure to drive around this track for the season finale. It felt so good.
Absolutely. And not only that, but you've got a win to add to your bow as well. I mean, talk us through race 1, because you got the move done at Quarry Bend, and it looked like you never looked back.
Well, yeah, I thought that if I could get past the Honda at the start, maybe I could have a chance to stay ahead for the whole 30 minutes. It felt like Honda was not that great in the race. I think I had the edge over the race. I had more pace. But in quali, yeah, it was unbeatable. It was so fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yourself and Luke, the only drivers in the 1 minute 59s. You said it was a pleasure to drive. I mean, how does that add as well, as such demanding track like Mount Panorama is, that not only is the car a pleasure to drive, but you were on rails as well?
Well, yeah, it's probably my most driven track, and because of that, it's one of my favorites as well. I enjoy driving it every time.
Absolutely. And after today's standings, well, what we can provisionally say is, in fact, now I can say officially, P3 in the championship, a bit of prize pool going your way. How are you feeling after that?
I'm really happy considering I missed the first race at Spa, I think that was. Maybe I could have challenged for P2 if I had done the race. Maybe even the title, but it's a long shot.
Well, we'll have to just wait and see for your next appearance at World Pro Racing, Sebastian. I'm sure we won't have to wait too long for you to be in a championship battle. But Sebastian, congratulations on your victory in the race and congratulations on third place in the championship. Very well done.
Thanks.
And I'll hand it back over to Jake. Who have you found in the virtual paddock?
I found Luke Whitehead along with me, second overall in the championship, victory in the second here today. Luke, let's start by talking race one. You lost the lead out at turn 3, and then it looked like you were doing everything to try and give chase. Did you push over the limits and effectively find then the trouble coming down the hill from Skyline?
Yeah, I mean, first off, good evening, everyone. I hope you're having a good evening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the start, the car had no tyre temps. I'm not really sure still what the issue was, because, I mean, I didn't have the same issue in race 2. But yeah, just had no grip. Turn 2, broke, and the car just didn't stop. Like, I broke early, and the car just went completely straight, and obviously Seb got through. I think I would have been able to catch him back up and overtake him if obviously that backmarker incident hadn't happened. Obviously they didn't really obey the blue flags and lost me quite a chunk of time, which is unfortunate, but I mean it's life, it happens. And then obviously yeah, I was quite a way back from Seb and had to push that a little bit harder, and then obviously yeah, just made a slight misjudgment, turned in a little bit too early, or a little bit too aggressively, I should say. And then the rear obviously swung round over rotated me into the first wall, which then cut me across the grass for the second part, which then put me into, you know, ping pong mode for the rest of Skyline. So it wasn't ideal, but we were quite lucky to be able to bring it home with not too much damage. And obviously P2 was not a bad result. And yeah, then race 2, obviously we shed some of the bad luck that I've had this season and yeah, drove away. So yeah, it's a shame. I wish all races could have been like the last one was. Obviously, I think, you know, I qualified pole for every single race this season, and then, you know, something in the race has gone wrong for each of them. So, you know, it's a shame, but, you know, second place in the standings, I can't really be too unhappy with it.
Well, can't be too unhappy with second place in the championship, but when you look back on that season, would you say that some of your drives over the course of that season, despite what's happened during the race, have probably been some of the strongest that we've seen from you at World Pro Racing? Because it's just looked like that you've been able to step up from a level that you were 2 years ago, a year ago. Yes, you haven't got the championship, but you've got yourself a really, really strong resume of the way you've driven, especially in that second race where you win by almost over 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I'd label myself as a better driver than I was, certainly from the last WPR races. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that I haven't really got much to show for it. I mean, the races where I've had the luck go my way, obviously, was Alton Park, Kyle Army, and here, and all 3 of those I won pretty convincingly. So it's a shame because obviously, as I said, like the pace has been really strong across the season, and obviously Coast, the pace was extremely strong, and just, you know, we all saw what happened there. It was a shame. But yeah, I mean, Amadeo's driven really well. He hasn't always been the quickest, but he's kept it clean, and he's done a brilliant job this season. So he's a deserving champion. But yeah, next time hopefully I'll be less cursed. I mean, nothing's gone my way this season, which has been very frustrating, given that, as I said, my form has been pretty decent. So yeah, on to the next season, which hopefully won't be too far in the future.
Well, on to that indeed. Before we let you go, shout out sponsors. Anyone you'd like to thank here, Luke?
Yeah, so first off, I'd like to thank WPR and obviously the broadcasting team for holding another season. I know it's been a hiatus for them, and obviously they've been very busy with a lot of other things. But it's great to be back racing in WPR. It's great to have them back, so hopefully they stay, and hopefully they do more series. Massive well done to Amadeo and Seb for P1 and 3 in the standings, and also Josh Allen and Jack Alexander for giving us a good fight when they've been here. Condolences as well to Victor Nikolai, who turned up for this round, and bless him, he had an absolute nightmare. No real fault of his own, just had everything go against him, so unlucky for him. I'd also love to give a shout out to the guys watching my stream. The support that I've been getting recently has been, well, it's been really humbling and amazing to have that. So I appreciate everyone who's tuned in, not just to my stream, but to the official stream as well. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the season.
Well, no worries at all then, and what a good run from you it was there, Luke. Second position overall to get things done. Kieran, you've been dashing down the pits, and I believe you've run into Joshua Allen.
Indeed, and Joshua Allen, we've got a couple of flying Scotsmen in World Pro Racing at the moment. Joshua Allen is one of them. Josh, can you hear us? Josh, I mean, Mount Panorama to come back to after a bit of a hiatus, and you were giving some of the top guns a little bit of a battle out there. P3 in today's event as well, I believe, from the point scoring standards. I mean, how was it for you out there?
Stressful. The first race was relatively clean until the the first 10 minutes, and then Bathurst things happened down the mountain, and there's not really much you can do. So I drove with 12-second damage for about 20 minutes, but the pace was surprisingly there. So I could keep up somewhat considering the amount of damage I had.
Absolutely, and you had some battling as well with Jack Alexander, especially in the second race. I mean, two Scotsmen going at it. That was a great sight to see. How was it from your point of view?
Yeah, it was great fun. We were actually on voice chat in the race, and teammates as well, so it was balanced battle, and he actually let me go because he had some damage and I was going to be the quicker car. So yeah, good teamwork today from Seb and everyone.
That's an interesting dynamic as well, being in the same voice chat as each other as you're going side by side. It's a bit of an interesting dynamic there. Thankfully, you didn't make contact with each other. That could have been an awkward conversation. But no, I mean, Mount Panorama is a season finale. You know, those tight walls, as you said, you got that damage in the first race. Second race, though, was a much more calm affair. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it was pretty boring considering compared to the first race, but I was happy with my pace. I practiced like an hour before the race, so I'm keeping up with the people except from Luke, but Luke he did awesome today.
Got to get the only practice for an hour, so excuse underneath the carpet there. Nice one. Josh, before we let you go, any shout-outs, any sponsors you'd like to mention?
Well, thanks to the organisers, broadcasting team, and everyone that made this event and championship possible. Alex de Cloven, our team manager, he helps us out a lot. Also the boys, Seb, earlier in the season, Andrea and Jack helping out with the setup, so yeah.
Joshua Allen, thank you so much for joining with us, and congratulations on your results today. And Jake, you have the man of the hour with you right now.
I do. I have Amadeo Castorino here with me. Now, Amadeo, it's important to know that you built up a buffer, you built up a margin over the course of the season, give yourself the points. And today's racing for you, was that a case today of you really needed them after the luck that you had in the opening race?
Yeah, first I would like to start by thanking all my team, the Team Racing Point, for supporting me this season, and thanks to World Pro Racing for organize this championship. And yeah, tonight I'm very happy for win the championship, but the race was not very fun at all, because in both the race I was forced to race with a very damaged car, and not for my fault, because first race one guy spin on the downhill, and in the second race on the straight I have a contact and I go into the wall. And yes, how you said, the gap on the standings is guarantee me the first position, because this race is very hard for me.
Races are very difficult, and today was no exception, but how important was it, your consistency over the season? You hardly stayed away from the podium places all year, and I think it proved that the way that you construct a championship is by the level of consistency you have. And just how crucial was it for you, those second place, those third place finishes, especially in the middle of the season?
It was essential finish all the race on podium, because Luke I know is very strong, and it's very important to finish all the race on the first position. Yeah, tonight is the only I go off the podium, but I think not for my fault. I do my best, I drive very safely, because I know I only need to finish this race for win the championship. So I try to do the best, but with very safe.
So you get the championship done and dusted safely. In terms then of looking forward, what are you trying to push on to next? What's next in line for Amedeo Castorino, champion of the World Pro Racing Sprint Series?
I don't understand the question.
What are you doing next? What's your next big race coming up?
Next race, I had to do a lot of championship, endurance championship, like VCO, and I hope next year you do another championship, because it was very funny for me. So that's it.
So very fun for you. Amedeo Castorino, your champion here in World Pro Racing Sprint Series, powered by ESTV. We've been streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch, as well as TVM Sport. So some wonderful work has been done throughout for everyone. And for what has been an incredible season there for everything that's going on, we do know that 2023 is going to be jam-packed with great sim racing action. So make sure that you come back and join us with World Pro Racing for that. But from Kieran McGinley and of course myself, Jake Sperry, it's been a pleasure to bring you this action. It is Amedeo's championship, and he seals it off with a conservative approach to end this season outright. He built the gap, he got what he wanted, and it's a championship come the end.
Niġu bil-pisi tagħna u l-monitor fih daqsiex għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-esports. Programm fejn ħanitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-esports pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, esports plus. niġu bil-PC tagħna u l-monitor fih daqsiex għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-esports, programm fejn nitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-esports pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, eSports Plus.